Main, the leader of the Black-White sect, asks Pak where Wei is, and he replies that she headed down the mountain to recruit a genius for the sect. However, this genius, Buvi, is being threatened by Wei. Wei apologizes as she just doesn't want him to run away. Believe me, if an almighty cultivator held me at the tip of a sword, the last thing I'd try to do is run. However, Buvi doubts that he has any innate talent for being a cultivator, so Wei pulls out a magical device that will detect his talent for him. All he needs to do is answer honestly. Buvi has nothing to lose. However, Wei's first question is if he has ever bedded a woman. Buvi loses his mind, as there is no way that this is a legitimate question to discern if someone is a cultivator. Wei swings her sword and reminds him to answer honestly. A subdued Bugi nods yes. This gives him a sharp talent bonus, even though this makes zero sense. More nonsense questions follow, such as his favorite color, food, and birthday. Buvi answers these honestly, and his cultivation meter shoots through the roof. This simply confirms Wei's suspicion that he possesses untapped potential, but Buvi points out that all she likely did was manipulate the meter to explode on its own. This is even fishier than a pyramid scheme. Regardless, Wei takes Buvi's hands and invites him onto the path of cultivation and immortality. Befitting a boy of his age, Buvi sees Wei's feminine features and almost agrees outright. Suddenly, his friend, Browse, bursts in, yelling that robbers are in the village. Seeing that he is interrupting something, he closes the door. Actually, never mind, he bursts in again because this takes precedence over his dear friend finally getting some. Wei reassures him that she will deal with this. Outside, bandits announce that they are here to take everything they own. Say what you want about them, but at least they had the decency to announce what they were doing. In what is arguably an overkill move, Wei uses her 1,000-sword skill to kill all the bandits in the area, when there were just like 20 of them tops. She follows it up with a gigantic lightning blast that levels the entire area, and the whole village stands shocked. There's no way they're going against someone like this. To cleanse the area of bandits, she announces she is going to cleanse the hill of their filth, and she leads behind a barrier to protect them in their absence. Browse asks Buvi what his relationship is with Wei, and he replies that he was invited to cultivate with her. Browse is almost certain that Wei only wants Buvi for his body, but as they watch her obliterate the mountaintops, they realize they cannot afford to offend her. When Wei returns, Bugai is neatly gagged and tied up in bondage rope for her to pick up. Wei sees no problem and picks him up. Wei asks him how his first experience riding a flying sword is, but he remarks that only degenerates would enjoy being tied up on a sword to begin with. Too bad, as Wei speeds up and Bugi's head is thrown back from the inertia. In a few minutes, they arrive at the Black-White sect, and after Bugi throws up, Wei brings him inside to register. However, she cuts through the entire line, causing many people to grumble, so she tells Bugi to register while she deals with them personally. Wei rushes in and begins beating up the crowd. Bugi points to her and asks the clerk if this will cause any problems, but he just looks away. No sir, no problems here. The clerk hands him the requirements to join the sect, which among others require him to be at the foundation stage before 20 years of age. He must rank among the top 10 in the introductory and practical exams. And, worst of all, he has to be handsome, good-mannered, and have hordes of family wealth. Bugi meets none of these conditions and walks away. However, Wei, who has finished beating up some poor schmuck in line, tells him that she has a plan. She brings him towards the examination area, where she will persuade the other students to drop out, making him the top 10 by default. And by persuade, she really means brutally beat them up. Just like that, everyone voluntarily concedes and decides that cultivation just isn't for them. Bugai is now in the top 10. Now Wei attempts to fix up Buvi's face to pass the handsome part of the test, but after looking at him, she touches his shoulder and says she will find a way to cancel the test instead. However, she moves on and brings Bugai into her room so they can build a proper foundation level for his cultivation. Don't worry, she'll be very thorough. Buvi's is in danger. But why does danger feel so good? Bugai is stripped and seated on a bed, while Wei explains that normally ordinary individuals take 5 to 10 years to clear the first 3 stages of cultivation, but they're going to take an easier and more explosive route. She tells him to take his pill, and they will soon begin the aura transfer and other miscellaneous cultivation terms. Unfortunately, Buwi loses focus, causing the first foundation formation to fail and wasting a pill in the process. Annoyed, Wei gives him a backup one and tells him to sit still. She moves to the front to perform some acupuncture to better seal in the aura, which will complete the foundation building. But seeing her go so close causes him to suffer another nosebleed. If Boogie doesn't die from cultivating, he'll die from blood loss, and I don't see the Red Cross in this world. Wei finally realizes that Boogie might be more troublesome than expected. But not to worry, as she has a staggering 80 foundation potions ready. They go at it all night as their groans, moans, and drones echo into the night. The next morning, they emerge from the room, and Wei praises Bui for being able to go at it 8 times. When another disciple sees them in a disheveled state, he runs off. The trial elder is furious. Only Bui showed up for the trial, so he can't even really call it a trial. With the entire arena empty, he is forced to pass Bui. Wei bestows the title Luck Hermit on Bui, but he protests such a lame name. When she suggests she call him Dog Hermit instead, he announces that he wants to go home. However, Wei grabs him by the collar and drags him away, saying that he is destined to save the world. She explains that she traveled thousands of miles to recruit him because he holds the power to save the cultivation world. Bui does not know how to react. If anything, he finds this ridiculous. To put his mind at ease, Wei gives Bui a sword that only the Chosen One can pull out. Bui is still suspicious, but as he lays his hands on the handle, he easily unsheathes the blade, and his face sours. The last thing he wanted was responsibility, and now he has to save the world. If he is still suspicious, she offers to let other disciples try and pull it out, but Bui suspects that she already colluded with them, so he volunteers to do it himself. However, just as Wei said, only the Chosen One can open it. Several disciples attempt to pull the sword, but none of them are able to. An iron practitioner confidently grabs the sword, but even though he pulls with all his might, the sword doesn't budge an inch. Bui is finally convinced he is the Chosen One, and he immediately has fantasies of being surrounded by a harem of women. This is what power does to a meth. Bui declares that he will be the king of cultivation, and he happily hops away. However, in reality, Wei threatened this entire clan to play along with her farce by stealing away their weapons. She swears to kill them all if they ever reveal her plans to anyone else. She returns their weapons and congratulates them on a job well done. 3 days have passed, and Bui begins his cultivation training in earnest. However, her cultivation tips seem more like Italian mafia tactics, such as dead men tell no tales. Furthermore, he is barred from doing conventional cultivation protagonist actions, such as challenging higher-ranked cultivators and attempting to form a harem. Bui complains that there's no point anymore, and Wei bashes his head in. She sighs and tells him they are done for today. She warns him not to go outside, as she has laid traps to target intruders. She leaves him with her final rule: always obey her. Meanwhile, Pak realizes that his pills are gone, and he instantly suspects Wei of taking them. Unwilling to make them again, he races towards Wei's abode, triggering several traps and barriers that tear off his clothes and ravage his flesh. When he finally arrives at Wei's house, he is a bloody mess, but only Bui is there. Elsewhere, Wei muses about improving her traps. Pak surmises that Bui must be Wei's vaunted genius disciple, although he denies anything of the sort. In the corner of the room, Pak notices dozens of pills and empty bottles, confirming his fears that Wei took them all. To make matters worse, Bui has been consuming these in place of breakfast. Furious, Pak lashes out at Bui, but he haphazardly opens a fire scroll that blasts him outside. Bui apologizes for eating all the pills, but he reasons that he was just following orders. Pak grabs him by the hand and tells him that he can make it up to him by becoming an ingredient for a new batch of cultivating pills. Pak runs off with Bui towards a giant melting pot and tosses him inside. Pak flashes some gang signs to begin the process, but it backfires and he gets blown up. Pak realizes that Wei must have planted some kind of trap inside Bui, but he is undeterred. He pulls out his special high celestial sword to finish the job himself, but to his shock, he sees that it is broken in half. This is the final straw and Pak passes out. Bui just kind of sits there, not sure of what to do. Pak has a nightmare of Wei taking all his things, and honestly, I feel a little bad for him. He wakes up in a jolt and sees Wei standing over him, and she introduces Bui as her adorable little disciple. Pak whispers that Bui is just her little gigolo, so why is she going to such lengths to power him up? Wei tells him to guess, but Pak has learned his lesson, so he recognizes Bui as his disciple, also that Wei doesn't bother him anymore. A smart decision, Pak. At Pak's suggestion, Wei brings Bui out to fight a monster to earn some experience points. Bui is reluctant to kill such an adorable creature, but he can't seem to see the true monster it really is, and Wei encourages him to just get it over with. She reassures him that it won't fight back. A few hours earlier, she hunted down and tortured the tiger's entire family, and she threatened it into not fighting back. At one point, she must have entered hell, and the devil promoted her to assistant manager. However, when Bui can't bring himself to kill the creature, Wei shoots a glance at the tiger, pressuring him to act menacingly to persuade Bui to act. The tiger reluctantly follows her orders, and it eventually falls right on top of Bui's sword. This was easy enough, but they move on to the next monster, a giant panther hidden inside a cave. Days pass, and Boogie kills another snake, which turns out to be a really tiny one. Tian, a disciple that Wei bullied into watching over Boogie, sees no need to interfere. Boogie returns to Wei's abode and is treated to yet another meal of meat. When he realizes that these were the tigers he hunted, he eats it with tears in his eyes. It'd be an insult not to eat it after it gave up its life. He has to give thanks. However, he suddenly chokes up and asks if the meat is poisoned, to which she replies that she is an imposter and that she is here to reunite them in the afterlife. However, Boogie recognizes that her underwear is the exact same as his master's, so she is just pulling his leg. Wei blushes and admits that she was merely testing him. These days, there are plenty of poisons that can kill even cultivators, so this was a lesson in checking the food one eats. She has been checking it for him before in the past, but now it's his turn. She drops several stacks of books about poison that he has to memorize. Boogie reluctantly complies, but a few days later, he nearly dies after eating again. Wei says that food isn't the only thing that can be poisoned. Chopsticks and bowls can easily be contaminated. A month later, Boogie is completely confident that his meal is not poisonous at all. However, he nearly dies again, and Wei says that certain foods put together can cause them to become poisonous or unsafe. 2 months later, Boogie survives a meal and proudly declares that the food is poison-free. However, Wei did put poison inside, so they invite Pak to try the food. It turns out that Boogie has been eating poison so much that he has built up a resistance to it. But this is the least of Boogie's worries. He asks her to hurry up and give Pak the antidote already, or he will seriously die. Wei visits Mo, her other student, and asks him to take off his clothes. He quickly and eagerly leaps into bed, fully expecting a fun cultivation session with her. However, when she rips off his clothes, she simply takes the armor underneath, explaining that the clan's trial is beginning soon and she needs his armor. Mo stands there, blue-balled. She takes the armor to Boogie and tells him that he is required to participate in the upcoming trial. To keep him safe, she gives him the armor, several potions, pills, and talismans, all of which she stole. Seriously, she should be the antagonist at this point. Wei reassures him that she didn't steal anything from Master. She just hit him until he was unconscious, so he wouldn't notice them being missing. Wei says that the outside world is dangerous, so he needs these items to survive. Pak was a willing sacrifice. Wei gives a thumbs up and thanks Wei. 3 days later, at the clan's trial, Ming, the sect leader, addresses the disciples. He is immensely popular with the ladies, but that's only because K-pop hasn't been invented yet. Just as he is about to begin his speech, it begins to rain. Angered, he floats to the sky and attacks the rain, forcing it to become sunny again. Very big Caligula energy. This impresses Boogie, but one disciple says this happens every year. It always conveniently rains on the day of the trial, allowing Ming to show off his power. After an excruciating 2-hour speech, the disciples are finally led to Panglai Harbor to begin their departure. Wei reminds Boogie to brush his teeth and not to eat strange food, almost as if she were his mother. This is quite embarrassing, and he asks her to speak quietly. Boogie is called by his assigned group, but they give off a terrifying aura. This appears to be part of Ming's plan to get rid of him for good. Earlier, Ming used his popularity by grooming, or rather coercing, 2 girls to seduce Boogie. When they point out that he could be gay, Ming tosses in 3 guys for good measure. The 3 men burst out of their uniforms. They tell him not to worry. They are the best in the business, and they are sure to satisfy Boogie. Ming sighs and hopes they can get the job done. He asks Wei if she is worried about her disciple, but she replies that she has taught Boogie everything he needs to know. Meanwhile, in the aircraft's room, Boogie is facing the greatest challenge of his life, refusing the advances of 2 beautiful women. Boogie does his best to resist. Earlier, Wei gave him special bags to open when he leaves, one when on a spiritual sabbatical, and one to open when he is nearly killed. Furthermore, she supplied him with a special pair of underwear that will hurt him if he ever gets hard. But can our protagonist keep up against this dual onslaught? I know I wouldn't. Boogie can't take it much longer, and he blurts out that he is gay. The 2 girls click their tongues, and they get up to leave. Boogie breathes a sigh of relief, but his relief is short-lived. Ming had planned for this exact scenario, and the boys enter the room. Boogie reasons that he isn't into skinny dudes, but not to worry, as they also have super jacked mega hunks for him to enjoy. Boogie is doomed. He tries to say he is only into dad bods, but they have that too. It's over. The men run up to Boogie, but he makes up an excuse that he has canker sores and hemorrhoids, so he can't play with them tonight. This causes them to pity him, as do the women. They can't bring themselves to trick a poor boy with several health issues, so they take turns caring for him instead. They all begin feeding him food to keep his body healthy, while another girl prepares a potion that can help cure his hemorrhoids. One other girl offers to perform acupuncture to relieve any remaining pain. This is what happens when you lie to people. Soon, they leave Boogie behind at his trial site, and he finds that he is the only one there. A man explains that since he is the only beginner-level disciple this year, he will be taking on this trial alone. As he steps onto the stage, he encounters a beautiful woman whose underwear is exposed for the world to see. Boogie suffers another nosebleed, and it looks like he is lost before the trial has even begun. The girl leaps down and introduces herself as She, and she was tasked by Wei to protect him. When Boogie doubts her, she pulls out a collection of Wei's brassieres. Wei is immediately convinced. She, who is in the Tsingtao stage and third among the 10 archfairies, prepares to destroy this entire area since it is too dangerous for Boogie. Afterwards, she will take him somewhere else to train. Boogie tells her to please reconsider because he very much wants to live.